This episode of Inside Golf Podcast is brought to you by Inside Sports Network.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Boston Capital, Truist, Steve, on the Hold the Green podcast.
All right, we are live. Tapping birdie.
All right, Carson Young is here.
I bet Ludwig at 28.
Let's go. I bet
You
him
do
at,
too?
I bet him at 25.
Low sevens. I think there's some guys in here we like.
Harris English at 7,300.
I love Brian Harmon at 3.5% this week.
What's up, guys? It's producer Cam here. ISN is now partnered with Shorty's Golf. Shorty's Golf is designed to provide kids with the perfect introduction to the game of golf by offering high-quality clubs and equipment specifically tailored to their need. They offer custom sizes for various age groups, ensuring that the kids have clubs that are tailored to their height and strength. They feature fun, vibrant colors and lightweight stand bags that are easily adjustable. Each set features real stainless steel clubs, high-quality materials, and sturdy construction, making them long-lasting while providing a real golf experience. So go check them out, golfshorties.com. Use ISN15 at checkout for $15 off your purchase.
You're on mute, dude.
I thought I clicked it. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Capper with Twitterless Steve for a little Truist recap and PGA Championship preview. I just saw Dave in the chat. I don't get it. I think he's trolling you. But what's up, man? You had a busy weekend, birthday, Mother's Day. We're both dragging ass. So how you feeling, man?
Yeah, I could tell. I mean, you started the show by going on mute, so definitely I'll do a rip-roaring start for this preview here. No, I'll explain that later. Dave took it upon himself to try and be helpful and ended up giving a subscriber a horribly inaccurate answer because he found it on the internet, and apparently that's what that said. And you just got to believe everything you read on the internet. No, yes, I am tired. Yesterday was my birthday, and then today was Mother's Day. That is a very jam-packed weekend, and considering I'm, almost 40, I'm 39 with two young kids. There was a lot to do this weekend. I'm tired, but I'm, I guess, kind of excited to talk about Quail Hollow and the PGA. I mean, we'll talk about why it's a little downer, I think, as far as like the venue and like this preview and, trying to share like what we know about it. But no, I mean, we had a very exciting tournament today with the Truist. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you didn't have a heart attack. Do you want to get anything off your chest about Justin Thomas?
Yeah, I mean,
on a little short.
I just don't understand him. Like I texted you as soon as he got on the back nine, his driver started getting wonky again. It's like as soon as he gets in contention, he goes left, he clubs down and ends up missing the fairway. There is nothing I hate more than a golfer I have money on clubbing down and not hitting the fairway. It's inexcusable. You're a professional golfer. Like you're taking a fucking iron or a 3-wood off the box and you miss 60 feet left. That's me. That's not you. And then that bunny putt he missed. What really fucking makes me mad is because he's been putting so well. I was cooking and I saw what putt he had left. So I turned around and started doing some shit on the stove and I heard the crowd groan. And I turned around. I was like, motherfucker. I was like, it's like my mother-in-law, my mother is sitting at the table. And they're like, what? I was like, sorry, my guy missed a putt. And he's just, I just don't understand. Like, how does he miss that putt? He putts so well all day, misses that putt, somehow gets up and down on 18. And maybe that would have put more pressure on Straka because he knew he only had to 2-putt because poor fucking Shane Lowry turned into Sunday Shane Lowry per fucking usual. Is there anything more like just set your fucking watch to it than Keith Mitchell and Shane Lowry melting on a Sunday? Like it is the easiest thing to fucking fade on a Sunday. Keith Mitchell disappears. That's why I was so mad. I think I texted you last night. I was like, God damn it. The last person I wanted on with JT was fucking Keith. Like I didn't want all his bad juju getting all over my guy. Like I don't. He needs to be like an actual like a case study. Like somebody needs to get inside of that brain and figure out on Sunday there's no one worse than Keith Mitchell ever. Like he's the worst. But anyway, fuck JT. He's like Listen, I went between my two weenies last week between Morikawa and JT. I picked the weenie who fucking finished second. Who cares? A solo second would have been nice for one and done. I'm in like the top 115 in the big one and done, which is nice, but it certainly could have been good. And everybody and their mother's gonna play Bryson next week, so I don't fucking know. Yeah, that 4 mil would have been real nice. And those two guys just were leaving the door wide open for him all fucking day. And JT couldn't do anything. Fucking par, the first 5 on the back 9 before the par 5. So gross.
Yeah. I mean, the back 9 was playing over par. Like, that was the challenge this week, was the back 9. Yeah, I know you don't care. I know you don't care. So, all right. Well, that was cathartic. I'm glad that you kept your composure through most of that.
Yeah, I was a lot angrier like fucking 4 or 5 hours ago.
Yeah. Did you bet JT outright, or was it just one and done?
Yeah, I bet JT outright.
Okay. All right. So there you go. There's your angst there. So, yeah, Shane Lowry doing the typical 3-putt today, like on 18. Like it wouldn't have mattered anyways. He was going to lose, but to just gift wrapped it to Sepp Straka at that point, not great. Keith Mitchell, by the way. So on Saturday, I was doing dishes. It was my birthday, so it's kind of like humming happy birthday. And I watched Keith Mitchell on the TV, and I started to sing, Keith Mitchell's a fucking loser, like birthday. And then as soon as I got to like the crescendo of that song, he missed that 2-footer that lipped out. I'm like, yeah, my God. Exactly.
That's right.
Makes sense. So no, it is very predictable that Keith Mitchell melted on. The one thing I'm going to take away from this event is if they ever go back to Philly cricket, which you know what? We knew it was going to play very easy on Thursday because there was no wind. It was pillow soft. Yep. I was happy that we ended up getting the conditions we got on Saturday. Now, look, the fact that it's still barely played over par and you had a 15 to 30 mile per hour wind. I've been tracking golf courses for 7 years. I can't remember a golf course playing that easy in those conditions of playing barely over par when you get that significant wind. But it firmed up and it did present a little bit of a challenge. Not really today. I played about I think 0.8 under par today. Yeah. I didn't check the final score, but I would like to see this golf course again in August, when it's not the spring, when you're a little more burnt out, a little more firm, when you don't have a bunch of rain in the forecast. I would like that because then maybe we can get an Olympia Field style. Remember that 2020 BMW that played super firm and windy? Yeah. And the rough was really grown up and baked out and crisp. Yeah.
Love it.
I feel like we could get a similar tournament to that if it was played later on in the year. So I wouldn't mind seeing it again. I thought the golf course is great. I thought the greens were very interesting. Yeah, but it played out about how I expected. A lot of guys hit short irons from fairways. And, even though I didn't get the outright, I hit 4 or 5 positionals because I took those types of guys and ended up working out pretty good. Unfortunately, I bet only top 20 on Sepp Straka, not the outright. Is what it is. That's a Steve Shermer special. We're back here.
That is a Steve Shermer special.
It is. But no, I was happy to see this golf course. And now we get to go to not a new golf course. We get to go to a major championship venue that we've seen over and over and over. Coming to Quail Hollow. So,
but it's going to be different, right?
Well, do you want to just get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it, man. Okay. Whatever. The Truist is what it is. Whatever. Okay. We're all waiting for this week, and I'm afraid that, like we said, kind of off the jump, I'm afraid there's going to be 6 guys who can win, and it's going to be womp womp.
Yeah. So, all right, let's do the PGA Championship 2025 preview. This is going back to Quail Hollow Golf Club. George Cobb original design that has been renovated by Tom Fazio a lot through the years. Most notable, we'll get to the timeline later. I'll just say this at the front of the show. I wouldn't think this was going to be the most difficult preview I've ever put together for everybody, but it actually was, because at least with other venues, either it's the Masters. I just love talking about it. Yeah. I can talk about that for hours, even though it's the same golf course over and over and over. But then you also usually have different venues, with that we would go to that we haven't seen before. We haven't seen in 10 years. That would be the first time I actually would present this on the show. So that's a lot of new material to go over. This is a golf course that we have seen every single year.
Yep.
that I'll get to in a little bit plays very similar to the three styles that we will see and have seen this week. So, and also too, I'm not the only person that does golf course breakdowns. We also have Andy Lack, who does all his stuff. And I haven't listened to any of his shows because I don't want to be biased, but I can imagine that him and I would just get on here and basically say the same exact things over and over about this place. So I think my goal tonight is to look back at the 2017 PGA, because there are some things that we will be able to take from that PGA and apply it to 2025. And there's some things we're going to have to leave behind in 2017. There's also going to be things that we can take from the 2024 usual Wells Fargo, like the Wells Fargo championships that we've seen here. And there's some things we're going to have to leave behind there. So that's my goal tonight, is to try and tell you guys the similarities and differences in between this PGA championship and the 2017 PGA championship that we just saw there, what you can take away and what you can leave behind, and similarities in the Wells Fargo, to try and give you an idea about how this one's going to play. And I'm just going to spoil that for you guys. It's going to be probably pretty similar to what you usually expect. But there's some key differences that we'll go over. So let me ask you from the jump, Boston Capper. High level, like if you were going to describe this place and what works at Quail Hollow, what would you say?
Bomb it and putt it.
Okay. All right. You just guessed my next slide. Instead of doing a hole-by-hole breakdown of Quail Hollow, a golf course you have seen over and over, let me just show you the first hole, because this basically explains every single par 4 and most par 5s on this golf course. Here we have the opening hole here. This was actually renovated ahead of the 2017 PGA. The green actually used to be over here, and they pushed it back like 70 yards. This was a brand new green back in 2017. Sharp dogleg rights. You have bunkers all the way down the left side, starting about 265, then 300, then 340. And then you have thick, tall trees over on the left. Here's the thing, though, and why we think this is the bomber narrative that usually plays out here, is you can see guys who can carry at 300 yards, take it all the way over this tree line here and get to about this spot in the fairway, have it roll out a little bit. And even though this hole is going to play 505, pretty stout on the scorecard, they usually have maybe like 150, 160 yards into the green if you can carry 300 yards over this entire tree line. Yep. And this plays out pretty much over and over and over on most holes on this golf course. Either you can take it over dog legs, you can cut corners, or you just take all these bunkers that are like, 300 to 310 out of play. Like you remember last year with Rory McIlroy in the final round, as he was just crapping all over Xander, and we were basically solidifying our take that Xander sucks and he'll never win a major championship or never win anything big again. And then the next week he stuffed us all in a locker. At least me, at least. But
everybody except for like a handful of guys who never jumped off. Like that was the point where even people who were riding Xander were finally fucking over it.
Right. Well, that last year they moved the tee box back 25 yards to make it like a 320-yard carry over that bunker, which would pose problems to most of the field. But you had Rory McIlroy step up and clear it easily, and he had, I think, like 140 yards in the hole. It's like 530 on the scorecard. He had like 140 yards in. Yeah. Like that's just what you see at this place. Is if you have big carry distances, most of the trouble that would cause angst for like 90 to 95% of the golfers in this field, you get a big bomber like that, or a guy who can carry it a lot farther, and he can take a lot of that stuff out of play. So,
do you hate this course more or Riv?
I don't. Wait, Riviera.
The disdain in your voice.
Here's the thing. I don't hate this course. I don't like that this is a course we see over and over, and we have to see it for a major championship. I don't understand why that it's in the rotation. I don't hate this golf course though. Like, is it the most interesting? Absolutely not. But it poses a stern test for these guys, and it does have elements in it that can stand up to modern technology and just the modern golfer. So I don't hate it. It's a great piece of property. The members take a lot of pride in this place. It's like last year aside, like, yes, you had like a couple guys get to like really deep under par, but for the most part, like most guys are in the single digits under par, usually plays over par. Like, I don't hate this golf course. It just, I like the idea of, we see it it's like with Pebble. Like anytime they bring Pebble back for the US Open or Torrey Pines, which we're never going to see at a US Open again. It's like, what else do I really need to see that I haven't seen at this place, every single year for a major championship? Because there's a couple things they've done to change it from a regular Wells Fargo, but a lot of the setup is going to be pretty similar. So, so the next slide here, I guess where we should start off is a refresher of what happened in 2017, that PGA. Let me ask you, how much do you remember of this? Like, were you really watching golf and gambling on golf back in 2017?
No.
Okay. So this was even pre me, before I started writing and bringing down golf courses. This was the summer of 2017, and I started actually working at SGPN in that fall. But I was betting on golf a lot more casually back then than I am now. But this leaderboard, like, you look at this, like you just said, like, all right, Bomber City, all that stuff. Look at the guys in this leaderboard. Justin Thomas 8 under, Louis Oosthuizen in 6 under, Francesco Molinari, Patrick Reed, Ricky Fowler, Hideki Matsuyama, who Hideki probably should have won this thing, by the way. Like, he had the lead in the back 9 and he completely blew it. Kevin Kisner. Like, look at this leaderboard. Kevin Kisner, Graham Dillette, Chris Stroud, Jason Day, he's won a couple of times here, Matt Kuchar, Jordan Smith.
Jordan Smith, the English Jordan Smith?
Yeah, the English Jordan Smith.
I didn't know he'd been around that long.
So, just not what you would think of this place. Yeah.
No, not at all.
So you might, I hope, for betting, it doesn't matter. I don't really care what other competitors and other gamblers think about this place as far as their narratives. Like, in DFS is different. Like, you want people to think that this is going to play out like this. Well, this is why this played out, where it was more, your shorter players, more accurate players, like just a different type of leaderboard than what you would probably expect. Well, so this was full Bermuda. Okay. It also had completely brand new greens, right? I mentioned the renovation that Tom Fazio did. All new greens, new holes. And what ended up playing out was the greens were so firm and so severe that if you weren't in the fairway, if you were in the rough and it had 2.25 inch common Bermuda, which is pretty difficult to hit out of, you had pretty much no chance of getting the ball close to the pin. And you had very little chance of actually keeping the ball on the playing surface. It just would go well off. So there was, at least compared to other PGA championships, a lot more of a premium to hitting fairways, and that was more a contributor towards your total strokes gained off the tee that week. And that's kind of why we saw this leaderboard. Yes, Justin Thomas hit 50% of his fairways, but like the Molinaris, like Kevin freaking Kisner, like Kuchar, like you wouldn't expect it, like a 7,600-yard Quail Hollow.
No,
that is what would play out. You also saw, like, this makes sense from a standpoint of like, okay, like your Bermuda guys, like your Kisners, your Kuchars, like Chris Stroud, like guys who typically do well on that surface, they also appeared here too, because it was difficult to putt on these fast Bermuda surfaces. So there was a lot of complaints about the setup back here in 2017 between the too severe of green speeds, the too severe of undulations of the greens, and just the fact that their greens were so firm and difficult that like it did make a lot of the players happy, especially in the hole number 4, which is the new par 3 that had a 44% green regulation rate back then. It just posed problems.
Right.
So that's how this leaderboard kind of played out. So what I did for you guys, and we're going to spend a lot of time on this slide here, is like just like the general specs of Quail Hollow. what they were in 2017, what they were like last year for 2024, and then what we're going to see this year for 2025. So par 71s all around, no change there. Yardage, about the same, about 7,600 yards, a little shorter for a Wells Fargo, 7,558, 7,600 yards in 2017, 7,626.
What did they, so like, I mean, when you took it, we're talking like 70 yards, right? Basically between that. So between 2024 and 2025, is that just par 3 moving tee boxes around basically?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of par 3s that they moved back. For this year, they also added a tee box on hole number 9 to lengthen it to 530 yards. So, but yeah, similar yardages. So you're not dealing with anything really crazy. Like even 2017 was 7,600 yards. So we're dealing with essentially the same yardage golf course you saw back then. So very similar there. What they did do before the 2024 tournament, which we'll get to in a little bit, we'll see in some of the stats and how that played out, was they wanted to soften the greens. And what I mean by soften is take some of the severe undulation out of some of these greens. So they actually rebuilt 12 greens last year to take some of the severe contours out of it.
When you say rebuilt, when you say rebuilt, I mean, it's not like they're going to be hitting on a concrete now, right? They just basically shaved them.
No, well, back then, like last year, it actually had a much higher green regulation miss, and it was harder to hit approach shots, and it's because the greens were a lot firmer last year. Okay. So the goal of that, though, and we actually speculated last year when we did our Wells Fargo preview why they did it, and it actually played out this way, was they wanted to do two things. One, make it less severe so they could have more difficult pin positions, because just when you have these really fast, severe undulating greens, there's only certain places you can put pins. There were pin positions they thought would be more challenging, but they couldn't do it because it was just on too severe of a slope. So they flattened it out in order to do it. And they also could make it more suitable to faster green speeds without getting too out of control.
Okay.
So that's why they did that renovation last year. Let's get to agronomy, because this is actually the biggest difference. And I talked about this back in December with Andy when I won the majors preview. I'm sure he's talked about it this year, but 2017, as I mentioned, it was all Bermuda fairways, champion Bermuda greens, common Bermuda rough. 14 on the stimp meter. That was way too fast for those greens. Very difficult to putt on. Yeah. So, but 2.25 inch Bermuda, which actually for Bermuda, like you don't usually see Bermuda more than 3 inches. So, and with how much long approach shots you had, how difficult the greens were, like 2.25 was plenty long for that. You couldn't control the ball out of the rough.
No,
your typical Wells Fargo, though, you got your overseed, which Boston Capper, Dave flunked this test spectacularly earlier to a reader. So I'm going to quiz you. What is when you overseed a golf course? What do you do to it? What happens?
You're making it softer.
What?
You're making it like softer, like it's easier to putt on.
Yeah, but like what? Okay, what is overseeding?
So it's making the dormant grass. It's mixing in other grass types to go over the dormant grass, so it will actually roll, right?
Thank you. Yes, it helps with aesthetics and playability. Essentially, Bermuda goes dormant. And if you got
made me all nervous, man. I was like, wait, hold on.
If you got that wrong, this was I was going to end the show right there. Okay. I'm like, I would just say, just go listen to Andy. We are done here. I don't want to talk to you for another 45 minutes. No, when Bermuda goes dormant in colder temperatures, you put down a strain of grass that can actually thrive and grow in it, like a ryegrass for the rough, or Poa trivialis for greens, or a bent grass too. And it's more for aesthetics and playability in the cooler months. So, why it's still kind of overseeded when it's mid-May in the South? I was
going to say it's warm now.
Well, that's going to play into it for an agronomy fact I'll have a little bit, which I'm sure I'll bore some people, but it's important. But this is usually overseeded. Poa trivialis overseeded greens, which you see at like the TBC Sawgrass, Innisbrook. You see it at Harbortown, TBC Louisiana. Like there's a lot of overseeded greens that we see. You also had the overseeded ryegrass rough, which actually is only 2 inches. You think of this place as like big, thick rough.
Yeah.
And it's really only 2 inch ryegrass rough. So it's actually not all that long. Yeah. And then the Pro Trivialis overseed for the greens, at much slower greens, so only 12 on the Stimpmeter. So 2025.
Rory won last year at per usual, right?
Yeah, Rory won this year. He won in
Beat
2021. He won in like 2012 before the renovation. Yeah. Like Rory's won here a lot. I think Ricky's won here. Max Homa's won.
Ricky's won here. Win. How long ago has he win here?
Ricky won like I think
25, 20,
was this
2005?
First win? I thought this was his first win. Was Quail like 2010 or something? I don't know.
I hate looking at Ricky. I'm so glad he ejected, so I didn't have to watch him over the fucking weekend.
Okay.
Those stupid glasses and a stupid hat. I don't like him.
So. All right. So then I got the specs because for the GCSAA report this year that and I assumed two things coming in. One, it was going to be overseeded just like last year, which it is. You got the Pro Trivialis overseed in the fairway. You got the Pro Trivialis overseed on the greens. The rough length though. And yes, it's overseeded. But usually when I think of a PGA Championship, I think like 4-inch ryegrass. Okay,
yeah,
like nice and long,
like your course.
Yeah, like Oak Hill,
gnarly.
Yeah, pretty much. The fact sheet only said 2 3/4 inches, and that kind of threw me through a loop because we had actually been hearing reports of members saying or claiming that this is going to be really thick Pinot rough. Now, when I think thick Pinot rough, I think a little longer than that. I think of rough that probably is not shorter than what you saw at TPC Craig Ranch a couple weeks ago. That was 3 1/4. Kind of silly for us to go on our shows and try and promote thick Pinot rough when it's only 2 3/4. And I've actually heard some takes already this week looking at that number of saying, well, it's a modest cut. So maybe some guys who might not have like the big length might be able to play out of it. Well, this vexed me for a couple of days. And I started going down a little bit of the rabbit hole. Okay. And I finally reached out to somebody who I'm not going to say who his name is. I'm going to keep it anonymous, but he is a very high up person associated with this tournament that is in charge of course setup. Okay. And I asked him this direct question. I said, hey, we've been hearing reports about really thick Pinot rough, but I got the GCSAA report and it's only 2 3/4 inches. Is that accurate? What's the rough like? And this is what he said. He said, quote, we are and will continue to mow the rough at 2 3/4 inches preceding championship play. So up until Wednesday night. Yep. Once the championship starts, I doubt we'll be mowing the rough again. However, the decision to mow will not be made, or to mow or not will be made by Kerry Haig, which, head of the PGA of America. So he has a decision. It is my estimation the rough will grow an inch over the 4-day period from Thursday to Sunday while the competition is being contested. And yes, the rough is very thick, but not very tall at the moment. So taking that is it's going to start at 2 3/4. And as long as the PGA of America doesn't freak out and let it continue to grow, it's probably going to be closer to 4 by Sunday evening, unless they decide to mow again.
Right.
There's also
what can I ask you something just real quick before you get into it? What would make Haig want to cut it down? Like players coming to him bitching, like it's too tough?
Maybe he doesn't want to just make it just a 2-horse race.
So I would feel like based on how the PGA has set themselves up over the last couple of years, we've had some of the better majors at PGA, and I think they like that. Right. I would think they would like that. So maybe he doesn't bend to the players, right? Maybe he's not spineless like Monahan.
Yeah, I would hope not. But that's a question. Will they continue to top it at 2 3/4 inches, or will they let it grow? That's a decision by him. It also sounds like too that if this was from somebody who typically sets up a Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow, the fact that it starts at 2, they let it grow out through the tournament. And that's why maybe by the end of it, it gets a little bit more thicker. And then maybe that's also explains why it has become kind of a 2-man horse race the last couple of years between Wyndham and Xander a couple of years ago. Yep. Rory and Xander last year. Just you get these guys who may be a little shorter, kind of compete towards the beginning, but it's a horse race. The guys with the length end up winning at the end. which I think is a key if you're going to set your betting card and make assumptions about this place. But the other tidbit too, like how the rough right now is currently very thick and penal. Well, right now, and this was actually similar last year, is that, like you said, it's warm. The Bermuda's starting to come up.
Oh yeah.
And they are saying
I hate putting on greens when the Bermuda's starting to come back. I hate it.
Yeah. So right now the greens and fairways are about 50-50 Poa Trivialis and Tiff Eagle greens right now. And like we've seen this before, where like we'll look at some of the early season events they're overseas, like Amex and Scottsdale, and they just look dark green. You see the mowing lines for the, going back and forth, like they look like little bars with the grain going back, everything. But when we start seeing the overseed later on in the year, like in the Southeast where it's getting warmer, you start seeing more of the grain that you're used to when you're putting on Bermuda, like the light and dark shades of you putting into the grain or against the grain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You start seeing that come up. And we're going to see that this week, to the point, and I'll get to a weather report later, is I think this Bermuda is really going to start popping up.
Really coming
quick.
through.
I do. The rough right now is 90-10. But because the Bermuda, and this is a real nerdy agronomy thing, this is why right now it's really thick, is because the Bermuda is starting to come up. That is
the other grass, right?
Well, it doesn't overtake it. It just takes up more space, because now you have the ryegrass come up, but you also have Bermuda come up too. It just becomes more thicker and dense at that point. So that can help you or hurt you. Like, because it's more dense, there's more grass there. Maybe the ball's sitting up a little bit and it's not as tall. That's why maybe at the beginning of the tournament, maybe this rough is pretty playable for most people. But as it's going to grow up through the tournament, if it gets close to 4, and I think a lot more of this Bermuda is going to start popping up to the point of, like you saw Sawgrass a couple of years ago, where you could see the really dark patches of the ryegrass and the light
clear as
green.
day.
Yeah. You're going to start, I think, seeing that here, where it's going to grow up and just be really thick. And by the end of the tournament, very, very difficult for somebody who doesn't have a very fast club head speed. That would be my take of all that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that was how I was able to square the low rough length with thick and penal.
Okay.
So I don't really have any concerns about that in the tournament. And we'll get to the weather as well. It's going to be really wet at the beginning of the week. So we'll get to that later. So that's, as far as green sizes, I don't have the exact square footage back in 2017, but they haven't really changed. So I would say about 6,500 square feet. Like, they're big, but even though they have softened the greens, they are undulated. Yeah. So they are pretty difficult. And fairway widths, I didn't notice anything different with the fairway widths in 2017 to now, about 28 yards. So that's that. So I guess let's start looking at like how the 2017 PGA at Quail Hollow played and how the last couple like Wells Fargo's played. Off the tee, like as far as like difficulty compared to other golf courses, even though these are narrow fairways and that can prevent some challenges, there's not a ton of like water hazards, or like everything's like just like, all right, you're looking straight out, you got a bunker. It's the degree of difficulty, at least with the tee shots, are not that high.
Right.
With the approach shots, last year played significantly harder. And I think that was because of you got new greens compared to the last year. B, I think that you had
half a stroke harder. Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, it's not half a stroke. It's like
half a stroke.
It's like
0.5.
Yeah. I think because they softened the greens, they were able to get different pins. So maybe a little trickier pins with the more difficult or the more firmer greens and saw the green regulation rate go down.
Yeah.
So that's where we saw that. In 2017, it played pretty difficult too. I would expect it to be, about the same. Like, it's always been pretty difficult approach shots. I think the fact that they probably can have more difficult pin positions with the new greens here may make it a little harder than what it was in 2017. So, but still, like, we're looking at, usually difficult approach shots. They're usually pretty long. Around the green, played way harder in 2017 because that was all Bermuda. You had it play much easier in 2023. Now that year, that actually didn't have the Bermuda starting to come up Last year it did. So you saw a increase in difficulty, and also the greens were a little firmer too. So I would expect the around the green difficulty to play closer to last year than it would in 2023 or prior Wells Fargo's. It's not going to be probably as difficult as 2017, other than the fact that these are going to be faster green speeds, so maybe a little more difficult here. But the overseed will help a little bit with that. And then as far as putting goes, these are slower green speeds the last 2 years compared to 2017. I would expect with higher green speeds, it'll be much more difficult to putt on than your typical PGA Tour setup. As far as missed fairway penalty go, there was in 2017, as I described, it was fourth most missed penalty for missing a fairway in 2017 PGA Championship. Last couple of years, not as severe with the penalty. I don't expect it to be as difficult as it was in 2017. I would expect this missed fairway penalty to come up a little bit, maybe meet it about halfway as far as your score if you are in the fairway or not. So I would expect that to come up. The rough penalty, I would probably expect it to be a little more severe than the last couple as well, because you are going to have, I think, some denser Bermuda. It's going to be higher as well. It won't be as severe as what it was in 2017, though. So probably, again, meet it kind of like in the middle there. Proximity buckets. Pretty much the exact same as 2017 compared to last year. Yeah. What you're seeing, though, is there's less 225-yard shots because everybody's just getting longer.
Technology.
Yeah. So, like, basically, everything's just going to get pushed up. But at the end of the day, though, this is primarily a test from over 175 yards. It is 60% of your shots come from 175 or more.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that was the same in 2017. So that is something you take, into this year as well. Going a little further with around the green stuff. Again, it was way more difficult to get up and down from fairways in 2017 than a typical Wells Fargo, because this was all Bermuda and it was faster green speeds. I would expect, with similar agronomy, but faster green speeds were kind of meeting in the middle again, as far as the difficulty. Same thing with the rough too. It was a lot harder last year than a typical Wells Fargo to get up and down from the rough because new greens, I think, and you had more Bermuda in that rough as well. So probably similar to last year.
Did I see
around the green?
Sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I saw something in the last slide that we didn't touch on. Bunkers got redone as well.
They did. I mean, it didn't really. Nothing has really changed all that much as far as like compared to other places. It's been about average. So yeah, it's mostly.
I was just
for
thinking
me,
around the green.
Yeah, around the green is mostly like an agronomy thing for me, as far as there's more going to be more Bermuda in this grass than what you would see at a typical Wells Fargo, but it's not 2017 though, when that was all Bermuda. So the overseed does make it a little easier. So, and then putting, I mean, really difficult greens to putt on. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, they were way too fast in 2017, way too severe. Guys could not, it was very difficult to putt on. You have slower green speeds the last couple of years, but you did see a little bit more difficulty putting the last couple of years than a usual Wells Fargo. I think because they use different pin positions to maybe make it a little more challenging while still playable. And also there was more Bermuda in these greens than in 2023. So I would expect more of the same this year, with that as far as the difficulty.
Okay.
So how about weather? As I mentioned,
my least favorite golf conversation, by the way.
I know. Well, this is important though, because it's going to impact how it plays.
I know.
There is an atmospheric river that, how we see an atmospheric river that like out west in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Like that just dumps rain on like Pebble or Torrey or whatever. Well, apparently that's going to happen in the southeast. Yeah, it's going to happen in the southeast. They're getting an inch
I got
of rain
some
tomorrow.
crazy weather alert for like I just got some crazy weather today about like tornadoes coming through in the next couple of days.
Yeah, there's gonna be some rough weather in the southeast, but apparently they're gonna get an inch of rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're gonna rain overnight, gonna get some more rain on Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's gonna rain pretty much all the way through the beginning of the tournament. So you are gonna have a soaked golf course. Now I want to mention though, back to the agronomy takes. I'm sorry I'm boring people with this, but this is kind of
important. No. Look, this is important. It really is.
Yeah. So so Bermuda can act as a natural vacuum for moisture because Bermuda does absorb moisture quicker than your Poa trivialis or the ryegrass. So theoretically, in the right conditions, this would firm up and get dried out quicker than if it was just all overseed, because that retains a lot more moisture.
I would say it is funny because if you go out after rain down here and you play a different style of course, you would think it would be puddled up, and it's not puddled up. But when you hit the fucking ball, it's like an explosion of fucking moisture coming out of it. Like the grass explodes. It's crazy.
Yeah. But Bermuda does suck up moisture a little more than a typical ryegrass would you see. So that will help a little bit. Problem though is without sunshine and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's gonna be mostly cloudy and not a lot of wind. So there's
it gets hot on Friday though. That'll help.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of conditions here to get more moisture out of this golf course other than the Bermuda just absorbing it, which again, I'm going to go back to this Bermuda point. You're going to see temperatures go way up, like high 80s, low 90s. You're going to have Bermuda starting to absorb a lot more moisture from all that rain. You're going to have overnight lows get to temperatures where it can still grow, like around 70. Like, this is why I think the Bermuda is really going to pop up a lot more as the tournament goes on. And that's going to make the rough, as it gets taller, much more thick, much more dense, because the Bermuda is going to go up and up. I think these greens are going to get grainier and grainier as the tournament goes on. So that's something to keep in mind too, is sometimes we look at these tournaments we just want to look at overseed golf courses. You might want to also incorporate Bermuda performance, I think.
Okay.
As well.
Okay. So how would you split that? So for all the model guys out there, how would you split it for the model? I
mean, I would just throw that in there. Like, I would just, I didn't know. I would want to say, okay, I not only do I want the overseed courses, maybe you throw out like Amex and Scottsdale and some of the earlier season overseed that is not like the 50-50 mix that we're going to see now. Maybe you just do Sawgrass, Harbor Town, Innisbrook, TBC Louisiana, the ones where Bermuda starts to kind of like seep in a little bit.
Yep. Okay.
And then maybe throw in some other typical Bermuda surfaces as well. Then there's plenty of them that you can use. Typical is very grainy. So that might be a way to model for the putting this week, is use those types of golf courses. If you want to just go for agronomy. So last thing though, before we get to our game is, I've droned on a lot about grass types and what works at PGA and like how Quail Hollow is played. And a lot of it just goes over your head. If you really just want to simplify it as far as just in general, PGA championships and what they reward, the PGA of America, the last least couple PGA championships, they've all played out pretty similarly as far as what was valued in the tournament and how you gain strokes on the field. And so this is the charts from Valhalla, Oak Hill, and Southern Hills last 3 years. Also, and then Quail Hollow back in 2017 as just like a comparison. Okay. And you can just see this was a tee to green test. Way more emphasis, way more ability to separate yourself off the tee than your typical PGA Tour golf course. Off the tee, in-tournament off the tee performance is more valued, and it's more driven by distance. This is heavily skewed with distance. Obviously, iron play is a lot more valued at a major championship setup with faster green speeds, more difficult pin positions, longer approach shots. That's why you see that skill also valued a little more than your other setups. And around the green play, more faster greens, difficult pins, the ability to get up and down is more key. And that plays out basically all three of these tournaments. And putting just hasn't mattered as much. Like, it matters in the grand scheme of things, but it doesn't matter any more than it does a regular PGA Tour normal tournament. Yeah, and in some cases, it's actually a little less. Okay. So, like, you don't putt your way to a PGA Championship.
No.
Here.
Irons.
And Quail Hollow back in 2017, the only thing I'll say that will be different is here, accuracy actually mattered more than distance that week. I'm going to expect that to go the other way because of the agronomy conditions, and the fact that this is going to be a long, wet golf course.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Than what we saw back then. So, but if you just want to take like what's kind of worked to the last couple of PGA championships and not focus so much on getting too much in the weeds about Quail Hollow, like it's gonna be no freaking surprise at the end of the day.
Okay.
As far as like who you go for and what you value this week, because they've all kind of played out similarly.
So I know 2022 when Keegan was in it, that was played somewhere else. So like 2021, 2020, like I guess all the years other that aren't posted here. Can we look at the leaderboards there and look at the same profile type player? Or do you think it just doesn't matter?
I would think probably 20. Well, there was no Quail Hollow in 2020.
2020. COVID. So 2021.
I would think 2021 actually is a decent one, although that was way firmer. Actually, you know what? That might not be a great comp. Although the leaderboard kind of played out like Rory won, Keith Mitchell was in the mix. Like it was basically your bombers. Bryson was in the mix. So, but that was firm and baked out. This is going to be soft and lush.
Okay. So I guess my question is like, so when you're looking at like course history, right? One, sometimes though it'll just be PGA, right? So that course history doesn't fucking matter. But if you're looking at like Quail Hollow course history, how much do you think that matters? I guess would be my question.
I think it matters. I don't see this playing all that dissimilar than like the only thing they're really changing is they're going to grow out the rough, do some different pin positions, but it's the exact same yardage, like same holes. Like there's no renovation from a previous edition here. It's like how it would be like trying to think the 2021 US Open at Torrey would play demonstrably different than a Farmers. And then guess what? John freaking Rahm wins.
Jesus, you hate Torrey Pines so much.
That one I have more disdain for than this place. No, I don't hate this place. I don't.
Okay.
What do you think? I don't like the idea of going back to a regular PGA Tour stop that we see every Sunday.
No, and I get that. I understand that.
Yeah.
It's nice to see something new. I mean, Christ, we all just got excited about the cricket club, right? Because holy fuck, it's something new.
Right. So all right.
Okay.
All right. That's all I got for course preview stuff. Like I don't see much else I can teach you guys. And I hope I actually
I like that little
showed the difference between 2017, 2024, and now, what you can take from 2017, what you can take from last year, and how to apply it this year. And then the key about the agronomy, which I think
that's
essentially locks in like you're going to have length win this thing just like any other PGA. And there's probably only like 4 guys that can actually win this.
4?
I don't know. Well, we're going to do a modified game. Hey.
Oh,
here's our favorite character. We're going to do it differently, though. Okay. Because look, at least in my belief, I think we probably can just look at these guys and know what their games are and know how this place is going to play and just cross them off. We don't need like trends heading in. We don't need
I agree.
all that stuff. We just look at who they are and let's do it. So, okay. So I'm just going to ask you a very simple question. Are you going to, is this guy have a chance or no? And I'm just going to get your hot take. Okay.
Okay.
Scotty, you crossing him off?
Yeah. We said overseed, right? So yeah,
we're keeping him on. Rory, are you crossing him off? Are you going to be that guy to cross him off?
No, never.
Okay. All right. Bryson, are you crossing him off?
Nope.
No, of course not. Okay. Well, John Rahm.
Yes.
You're going to cross him off. Why are you going to cross him off?
Listen, he's just not the same Johnny Rahm that I loved. I'm telling you, he's not. I don't give a fuck how many top 10s he gets over and live. He's been completely unremarkable in majors since he won the Masters. So I'm good. Show me first, especially at that fucking price.
Okay. So we were actually talking about this in the Discord today about how Rahm allegedly doesn't like this place. Or just
even more reason.
He's only played here twice.
What's Bryson's record here? I was trying to think about that.
Well, he had that top 10 in 2021, and then he went to Live.
Oh fuck! Christ, Live was that long ago? It's been that long.
2022.
Fuck Christ! How is this thing still going after 3 years? Nobody watches it.
They really don't.
Jesus.
Yeah.
This is
anyways,
like
with
just like
Rahm.
the WNBA. I have no idea how the WNBA is still around. Nobody fucking watches it other than Matthew Modine, and I just don't understand how. Listen. I understand that Saudi has fucking infinite funds and they could waste their money on whatever they want. I understand that part. I don't need the comments. What I'm saying is that like, I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
Look, I mean, Rahm should be a good course fit for this place. He's an excellent driver. He has length. He has not either played this frequently or he hasn't had a lot of success here. His iron play also has been pretty shaky this year.
Fuck yeah, that's the only thing that kept him from winning the Masters.
Yeah, so his driver also sucked at the Masters too. So, so that's a demerit. I also have a theory he might just not like PGA setups.
What did he do at Oak Hill?
Go ahead.
What did he do at Oak Hill? He played well at Oak Hill.
He played shitty. He played shitty, and he bitched and complained about pin positions and tee shot and like hole layouts. Me
and BK were right next to him when he went way left on something. I think
he flipped off a pin on. I think it was number 11. He just gave the middle finger. I mean, he was playing terribly, but Oak Hill, that should have been a place he was great. He should have been great. Like big power fade.
I think I bet him instead of Brooks because I'm an asshole.
Yep. And he sucked. Valhalla last year, that probably should have been a good setup for him. He sucked. He backdoored. He had the most fraudulent backdoor top 10 at Kiowa because there was a huge wave split on Sunday.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. I remember.
I would know because I bet all the unders in the morning in Kiowa, and I bet all the overs in the afternoon. I went like 15-3. That was great. But Rahm was one of the ones that went under, and he rose up the leaderboard, but he stunk that entire tournament. He was fine, like a T13 at Harding Park. He really is only contended really at Bellerive in 2018. So I don't know why. And we just kind of went over with PJ setups, kind of reward the same stuff over and over. And I would think Quail Hollow is basically the most basic boilerplate PGA setup you can really get. Long, thick, rough, narrow golf course. Okay. It just hasn't worked for him in this tournament for whatever reason.
Yeah. Listen, I'm with you.
I don't know. I mean, if he drifts, I can probably see myself because I happen to be sitting on a Bryson 24-1 from December. That's the only bet I've made so far. But yeah, like there's a lot of red flags with him.
Huge red flags. 16-1. Forget about it.
I think this was on DraftKings pricing. I think a couple of days ago. I think you can get him 20-1 at least.
I honestly don't care what number you put. Like I wouldn't bet him.
Yeah. Xander.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Record's impeccable here.
Yes. I mean, he's what? How many top fives does he have at Quail?
He does, but like think about like how he is like coming in right now.
Yeah, listen, I get it.
Like winning. Like there's a difference between like winning and contending.
Correct. That's fair. Listen, let's put it this way. I guess if I'm making the list, I only got 3 so far, and you're saying 6. I don't know and I was thinking 9. I don't know where the fuck my other 5 are going to come from if I'm not including fucking Xander. So for the sake of this exercise, I will include Xander.
All right. I probably will find myself on a position on Xander.
I can see that. Top 10.
I don't know about the outright.
No, listen, I'm with you. I mean, I don't want to bet. I don't want to bet at 18. I'm with you. I get that.
All right. Hovland, who's not 20, by the way. You can get a much better price. This was a couple days ago.
Much better. Man, I need to look in to see what he did because like we were talking on Friday. Like, is his driver broken? Like, he just what a limp dick performance from the fucking weekend.
He didn't drive it all that great this week. It was surprisingly, he actually drove it pretty good Thursday and Friday, and then drove it terribly yesterday and today.
Maybe Saturday we talked about it. All these days.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know, man. Like but you
talk about carry distance, putting, like it's Victor.
Now look, like I think like this is the thing. If I played DFS and this was a DFS centric show, like I would go back to the well with Victor easily.
Oh yeah.
A low-owned Victor. That's automatic. But this is a betting card. This is binary.
I'm not betting. That's fine. That's fair.
Yeah, there's 150 guys you can bet. Like I
Yeah. No, all right,
I don't see myself getting around to it.
All right, fine. I'm with you. I don't think he can.
Okay.
Fine.
All right. Justin Thomas.
Fuck no.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it's the only major he can ever win is the PGA because his dad was a PGA professional. Steve, did you know his dad was a PGA professional and he taught him the game? Did you know that? Have you been beat over the head with that goddamn story enough? Unreal.
No, just like I didn't know that they cut down a
golf.
bunch of trees at Philly Cricket Club.
I almost threw my keyboard. Like I've only had one drink tonight and I'm agitated.
Easy Rod. Okay.
No, he can't fucking win. His driver's squirrely as fuck, and no.
Yeah, but like that's it's if we're thinking about just distance this week and really care where it goes, like he's one of the guys that can definitely thrive in those conditions.
The answer is no for me.
All right. Okay. All right. How about this guy? Colin Morikawa. You like the picture I picked?
Yeah, that's great.
Oh,
Was he hugging his dog with his little dog booties?
No, I don't envision this being a repeat of Harding Park where it was a plethora of
There's fans there, Steve. There's fans there. He does not win if there's fans. We've established this. He's a COVID.
Come on. Okay. Well, there's a lot of fans. There was fans at the Open.
That doesn't count. They're British. They're very
much. There's fans at the Zozo. Just because you didn't watch.
No.
Majors.
I'm talking about majors. Talking about majors.
Fine. All right. It's going to be a no for me for Colin. Joaquin Niemann. What?
Fuck out of here. Sorry, Dave. Here comes the spam in the chat.
Look, of all the golf courses, this is not a hot take. Like, this would be a good one suited for Joaquin Niemann. He has good finishes here.
Sure.
He has a lot of length. But, like,
he doesn't do anything outside of live.
I can't take this price seriously, though. I'm sorry. Like, and this also means if he's going to be like 30-1, like his positionals are going to be completely out of whack too. And he's got one top 20 finish in majors.
Thank you.
Like,
listen, the talent is there. Like, I'm not a Joaquin Niemann hater. He's one of the guys who I fucking hated went to live. So, Dave, before you go insane, like all my guys went to live. I loved Joaquin Niemann. His swing is goddamn beautiful. Like, I was sad about him too.
Yeah.
And he took Munez with him too. Asshole. He had to take another guy who I liked. Fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like Niemann. I can't see myself unless like there's some good discount on a positional. Like, I can't see myself like if I got to pay like plus 115 for a top 20 again on him.
Oh, fuck no.
Like,
fuck no.
What am I doing?
No. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
This one makes me sad.
I don't know.
Brooks Koepka.
No, he's not on serious golfer now.
I said this, I think, after the Masters, our recap, that I'm wondering if the 2023 PGA might have been the crescendo.
Yep, it was.
For him. He's getting older. It hasn't clicked this year.
Not even
a couple times on live, he's done well at some of the courses.
I don't care about that though.
There's no way to quantify that.
Like, do you know what I mean? Listen. Anybody who's listening to this podcast knows that I'm not a live hater at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Like, I'll watch it. My guys, all my guys are over there. The product kind of stinks, and that's it. Like, it just is what it is. Like, when I'll root for my guys still. Like, I don't give a shit. But Brooks, there's nothing to take from that. Jon Rahm has 9,000 top 10s in a row, and he shows up and plays against. Iron sharpens iron, right? That's the biggest thing, right? Like, if you played sports growing up, iron sharpens iron. You want to play against the best kids at all times or best opponents at all times, because playing soft opponents doesn't do shit for you. You have to be against the best at all times, and that's how you step up, and that's how you get better. Well, that's not happening over on the Live Tour for whatever reason, okay? It's just not. Like, there is all-world golfers over there, but because it's unserious, they take it unserious. It's just a human emotion. Like think about when you're out on the golf course with your buddies, and think about differently when you have money on it versus when you don't have money on it. You don't give a shit. You missed an 8-foot putt when you're out there slamming gin and tonics and there's no money on the line. But if there's money on the line, you're gonna look a little harder, take an extra read, and I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how to take any of these fucking live guys seriously anymore. It's annoying. Other than Bryson is just a weirdo. He's just a weirdo.
Well, he's a weirdo, but I have. Remember how much we laughed at him for like
I hated
bulking up
Brooks.
and the distance.
I was
stuff?
100% Brooks.
Like that was right. Based on all these golf courses, how guys attack things now, and how these golf courses are just getting broken by distance. Like he was ahead of the curve. He did it wrong, but then he figured out he doesn't have to be Teddy Bruschi in order to hit it 350.
Oh, what are you implying, sir?
No, that was just like the first like player that came to my head about like a big linebacker, big beefy guy. You know?
Okay, well, listen, that's fair. Bruschi was a big beefy guy.
No, he was. Yeah,
Yeah,
that wasn't a slight against him. That was more like, okay, like he doesn't have to be 285. All right.
I remember Bruschi had I was home on leave, I think. One of the first times I brought my wife back home to Boston, and Teddy Bruschi had a stroke. It was like the second time. The first time Nomad got traded. The second time Bruschi had a stroke. And that's all anybody talked about. My wife was so confused about why everybody that we walked into, strangers, we would just start talking about either Nomad or Bruschi at each time.
Okay. Terrell Hatton.
Absolutely.
Not for an hour, right?
Why not?
Because like I described earlier, like
he's got an edge. He's one of the guys.
Okay,
so,
but like,
okay,
but like I just feel like this is going to be like a horse race, and the distance guys are just going to separate themselves by Sunday.
I guess.
And like this is like the the 2024 leaderboard at Wells where you had like the two separators and you had a bunch of guys like 600, 500. Like that's where I see like Hatton at the end of the day.
All right, fine. Dude,
okay,
he's got.
But no, I don't mind him for this golf course. It just
T3 in 2023.
Okay, Hideki. Again, another guy that I just feel like is going to fade as the weekend goes.
Today was so bad for him, man.
It was bad. It was very bad.
I liked what I saw up until that point. But what a horrible picture. It looks like an AI picture of Hideki. Doesn't even look real.
This is one of the few I find him like, well, he doesn't smile.
Maybe we never see him smile. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So I was literally taken aback by that picture.
I want to make him look happy. And I'm like, all right, maybe that's why he doesn't smile. I don't know. It's just odd. Fleetwood.
Fuck on it. Just move on to the next one. Get the fuck out of
here. Tommy Fleetwood. If I think the PGA Championship is like the epitome of like just big brawny American golf, like
I'm not quitting gambling on golf if Tommy Fleetwood was the PGA. I'm quitting. Quitting.
How about this asshole?
Oh,
Patrick Cantlay.
This backdooring son of a bitch.
This freaking asshole does nothing yesterday. And I know it's tough conditions. And honestly, in retrospect, if I need to be better on this. If I see a day of big wins, like Cantlay quits, okay? I can't think of a single win he's had where there was an adverse weather condition during it. So that's on me. That's my moral failure. That's why I have to go to the Wednesday meeting and admit my faults at that point. But like, yeah, like good weather conditions for this weekend for him. I just can't. I can't take this guy seriously. And if he wins this week, fine. All right, I'll be able to live myself. But
so Dave brings up a point. Where's Ludd?
Is he on a different
Where's
slide?
Ludwig?
Oh, I missed him.
We missed him. Missed him.
All right, fine, Ludwig.
Yeah, I think he can.
Yeah, I would. God, he's been so bad though. But he does have he has the cheat code of driving. Justin, if I really want to think back and like really spin this and twist this, I think JT was playing all that. No, you know what? That's not true. He was just coming off a good finish at Bridgestone, I think, in 2017. Then he won. But
what a joke, by the way. Joke.
But I mean, Ludwig was playing terribly ahead with the Masters and winning. He does have the ability to drive it pretty far and has those big carry distances.
You just said Ludwig was playing well into the Masters or it ended up winning.
No. Ludwig was not playing well heading in the Masters.
You just said he ended up winning.
I'm I'm tired, dude. Okay, I'm running on fumes.
I just want to
All
throw that out. Before somebody else said it.
I spent 15 minutes tracking down agronomy takes about Quail Hollow from insiders. Okay, all right.
Fucking love it, baby. I love it.
I'm running on it. All right, why don't we just skip Jordan Spieth?
Running on fumes, baby. Running on fumes.
All right. Anybody
Yeah,
else on the any other
Spieth.
losers on this list? This is a giant list here. All right, so pick a couple guys you think might be able to do something here.
All
Like,
right, all right, I'm looking. Straka, I guess. Everybody doubts him. Keeps winning.
yeah, he hasn't
110. That's a great number. Keegan? You know
Keegan
him,
Bradley?
Yeah. That's the only Keegan you know. Name another Keegan.
I can't.
Seriously, can you name another Keegan? I've never even heard that name until this guy.
I can't.
I
mean,
PGA
people like Patrick
winner.
Reed because
Why?
like he just breaks the mold because he just knows how to handle long golf courses like this, like Bethpage Black and Doral and I mean, positional for me, absolutely. I think he's going to be probably like 3-1 for a top 20. I'm definitely going back to that again.
I'd bet anyone at 40-1 for a top 20.
Okay. What about Minwoo Lee?
No.
Man hits ball far.
Yeah, man hits ball far, then man doesn't know what to do with ball after.
That's the problem. Just because you hit it far, there's still other things you have to do. And I think Minwoo Lee, like that seems like hits it far and yet still misses the cut by like 3 shots at the end of the day.
Dirt McGirt. No love for fucking Ricky. Absolutely not. Ricky can go fucking pound sand.
No. Finau played okay this week.
Actually, that's actually not a bad one. So I think definitely a DFS play, right? Like, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what the steam is. But that's a good number too. Fucking 100.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like he's got all the driving tools you need. He's been relevant at majors. I mean, listen, he was in the mix at Pinehurst a year ago.
Yeah,
he's had allegedly a lot of personal issues that have been going on that have been well documented.
Seems like those are all ironed out.
He played all right this week.
No.
Maybe.
Right. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. What about Burnsy?
How about
your
idiot
guy.
Sam Burns? Man,
Burnsy, your guy. Over on the same page. Your guy,
Yeah.
Burnsy.
There you go. How about third place finisher last year, Ben On? The guy who apparently cannot get right on an over round score. The guy just continually, that's the one that always costs me is Ben On.
He is your Billy Horschel. You just need to stop. Remember when I just stopped betting Billy Horschel and I became rich? Because I stopped betting Billy Horschel.
How about Mr. Goose Egg at the President's Cup, but he hits ball far? Taylor Pendrith.
No.
Everybody loves Ben Taylor Pendrith.
No, I'm good. How about Scam Young? Scam Young, good course history. Played well this week. Bearhoff is literally betting everybody.
Does he have good course history here?
Yeah, he absolutely does.
He does? Like Quail?
Yes, he absolutely does. All right,
okay.
so let's see it. Quail,
all right, we'll see.
This was. Go ahead. Just keep talking. I'll find it.
I mean, listen, man hits ball far. Man played well this week. Sure. How about the Højgaard idiots?
Oh, I like Rasmus here.
That means go with Nikolai then. It's gonna be a Nikolai week if you like.
Exactly
Rasmus.
right. Exactly
okay.
right.
All right, so that's
exactly right.
Exactly right. Davis Thompson, good driver.
I never get him right, man. I hate his face.
That would be positional. Dean Burmester.
No,
man,
none of these guys are actually winning. These are all positional bets.
Yeah, these are all basically positional bets, and they end up burning me. But like that's the challenge for me. Like I get this Bryson ticket. That's great. Like what am I going to pair him up with?
Nothing.
I don't know.
Call it a fucking day.
So we'll see what happens. But that's all I got. I think this is the shortest major preview we've ever done at an hour 10. Maybe. But like I said, like the whole goal of tonight was I think trying to compare the different styles of quails instead of like actually breaking it down. And I mean, I think we all kind of just land at the same place anyways. It's gonna be what we always really look at for the PGAs and what we always really look at quail. So that's it.
I think I'm wrong about his course history.
Cam Young? Yes, I think you're very wrong.
I swear to Christ, I saw it earlier, but whatever.
No.
Could be wrong. I'll have to look.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it too. So we got a show on Tuesday.
Yep. I think our outright cards are going to be very short, and it's going to be mostly
Yeah.
focused on like positional plays. I think
I-
for me,
yeah,
I think
I
that's
honestly
going to be interesting for me this week.
I honestly might just do. I already have a bet in on somebody who we've already talked about tonight in the top 3 of what we think.
Okay.
And might just double down on him and then just maybe pick like 1 or 2 longer guys, maybe, and then just go positionals and matchups.
Okay. All right. Well,
I am worried about it after we talked about him and like his history here and in PGAs. Makes me worried.
so it's John Rahm then. That's who you bet.
No, it's not Rob. It's the other one.
Oh, okay. All right then.
No.
Well,
I was afraid the number was going to move.
and it didn't.
Uh-uh.
Great. All right. Well, we'll be back on Tuesday with our full betting card. Yeah, that's all I got. Anything else from you?
Nope, that's it. Thanks, JT. I could have used that extra $500,000 in the one and done. You worthless cuck. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Bye.